for Parks and Recreation, and if we'll stand for the pledge right now.
Ms. Webster? Here. Mr. McInnes is absent. Ms. White? Here. Mr. Renzi?
Here.
Mr. Sunnycalm?
Here.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to mention that Mr. Sims cannot attend tonight's meeting, and he is excused. Ms. Pascal cannot attend tonight's meeting, and she's excused. And also would like to welcome our new member to the committee, Dante Renzi. And Dante will serve as an alternate for the committee, so welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're fun to work with. We'll enjoy having you here.
I'm sure I will have fun.
And I would like to make a motion that Joanne White be the acting chair for the meeting tonight.
Second.
All right, so let's get started on the agenda modifications.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may, I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of pass the baton, if you will. I know that all of you have had a chance, I believe, to meet Brian Benton, but I just wanted to state that we are very excited to bring him on to the Sebastian team. Mr. Benton comes with a lot of great qualifications and experience, and I think he's going to please you in his management of the leisure services. I just wanted to clarify that if you recall, Margarita was the parks admin. So she really was in charge of the rental facilities and the special events, and she worked very closely with parks management. But under the new umbrella of leisure services, it's all brought together again. So Brian will be in charge of parks management as well as the administration part. I just wanted to make sure that you're all aware of that clarification. And so anything parks related, please call Brian. So take it away, Brian.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, Lisa, thank you for the introduction, and I'm happy to be here. It's been great. I've met some of you prior to the meeting and then meeting each of you here today, and I look forward to working with the committee. We'll go through a few new items that are on the agenda for tonight that I'd like to get a little bit more community involvement within our parks and within the community as well. So I look forward to working with each of you, and we'll go forward from there.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Brian.
Yeah, and it's nice that we have a person now that we can direct questions and concerns and information to, and we look forward to working with you. Agenda modifications. Were there any additions or changes for this agenda? Did anyone have anything they wanted to bring up, Sunny or Joanne? Dante? No? Okay, then we have approval minutes. Our last meeting was in July, so it's been a little bit. I had to go back and read through. Is that what? On July 23rd?
Been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. So I went through and read what was on there. A lot of it was dealing with pickleball and things like that. I don't have any changes. I wasn't here. I did watch the video, though, but either of you have anything that you want to change or concerns on the last approval of the minutes?
Well, with the pickleball, with the dog park, we had the dog park had meetings at the yacht club when the dog park was going on. I'd like to see the pickleball people have a meeting at the yacht club.
Okay, but right now what we're doing is at the last minutes that we had for the
Oh,
last
okay.
meeting, was there anything that needed to be corrected or changed?
No.
I wasn't here, so.
Okay, so we're going to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as they're written.
And I'll second the motion.
Second.
All right.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, point of order, you all
Yes.
do need to vote.
To vote?
Yes, you say a first and a second, and then you all just
All in
say
favor?
yes.
All right, those in favor
Thank
of
you.
approving the minutes from the last meeting?
Aye.
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 Thank you. All right, so now we're in unfinished business, and we'll turn it over to you then.
So the first item is providing an update on our pickleball complex. The restroom facility has been approved by City Council. They approved the purchase of it from CXT, and that design has been finalized as well. So that was at the December 10th City Council meeting that it was approved. We're currently waiting on the final proposed cost from the contractor to continue to move forward with this. We're in the process of currently with the administrative review of the pickleball design plans. Those are here with the city, and we are reviewing them this week and next week. And once all that, is finalized, then we'll present the final cost and plan to the city council to move forward with that. So that's our current
Is
update.
that still the plan for Outback?
No.
here? No?
The pickleball complex is going to be at the airport. Just as you enter, if you enter off of Main Street and head towards the airport, it's on the right-hand side.
And what are we looking at? Do we have any idea on timelines, kind of?
If everything goes as planned, our timeline is this summer. But currently, as I said, we're in the phase now where it's a little bit dependent on a contractor to get us pricing and then to where it fits into their schedule as well. I know he has stated that he's pretty busy, and best case scenario is early summer, and but we are looking sometime in the summer currently.
So it looks like we're okay for having a restroom there,
Yes, ma'am.
right? And lights we're going to deal with maybe later, once we find out what the costs are.
That's correct. We have requested pricing for lights, and once we receive that back, then we'll make the determination whether that goes in as phase 1 or as a phase 2 project.
And the number of courts that were decided?
There will be 8 courts.
Okay. And there is enough parking? I haven't been back there. There is enough parking, it looks like, to accommodate that then?
Yes, so there would be a brand-new parking lot built as well, and that parking lot will be built to the standards to accommodate up to 8 courts
Good.
at any given time.
All right, so we're moving forward. Just keep going. All right, thanks.
And then my next item under unfinished business, just an update on the scoreboards for Barber Street Sports Complex, the baseball fields. I know that was requested to provide an update as well on that. The Little League program did purchase 1 scoreboard. They did this past fall. That scoreboard was delivered, and it was installed on field number 2 at the baseball complex. Once I arrived, we realized that there's a few other issues within some of the scoreboards. Currently, field 1 scoreboard works. It's an old scoreboard that has been there. It works and functions perfectly. Field 2 has a brand new scoreboard that was purchased by Little League. Field 3 scoreboard, we're having some transmission issues from the board in the press box to the actual scoreboard out in the right field, outside the right field outfield fence. And field 4 is not operational. So once we ran into this issue, I spoke with the Little League board, and we decided to do a split, 50-50 split. So we're purchasing another new scoreboard. That scoreboard should be delivered to the city this week, and we'll get installation of that, as soon as possible within the next week or 2 once we receive delivery of it. That scoreboard is going to go on field number 1. So that will include both Little League baseball fields have a brand new scoreboard going into the season. Field 3 is currently, as I stated before, not functioning, so our current plan is to take the scoreboard from field 1 that works and put it on field 3. At that point, we'll have fields 1, 2, and 3 that are all functioning, and we can work with the manufacturer to see if we can get the field 4 scoreboard up and operational. The reason for Field 4 not being functioning and is that that field is the least used field out of the 4, and so we're going to work with the manufacturer to try to get a scoreboard that works there. If that's not possible, then we'll have to look at other avenues to get the 4th one working.
So the cost, we're doing 50/50 with the league then? on
Yes, ma'am.
repairs?
So they purchased one completely themselves. That one's on Field 2. The city and Little League split the cost for another new scoreboard, a second new scoreboard that will be delivered this week, and we split the cost 50/50. That scoreboard, the total cost was around $2,800.
How much?
$2,800.
That's the total or the half?
That's the total.
Total, okay.
So we received a check from Little League to cover their portion. We proceeded with the purchase order, and we are awaiting delivery within the next week or so.
Can I
Yes, ma'am.
speak to that? When I read the minutes, and I've been hearing some things that, that the city said that the lease, that the city gave the concession stand to Little League, and that Little League was supposed to be taking care of, I don't know, the maintenance. I read it in here. I signed that lease, okay? And I was president at that league for 12 years. And for those 12 years, plus the other years I was on the board, City of Sebastian maintained the scoreboards. We didn't pay to, I mean, we didn't buy the scoreboards to begin with. Those were provided by the city. It was not in the lease that the league would pay for scoreboards. I think it's a little disheartening to me that now that they're saying things that's just not accurate. I mean, the lease does not say that the league would pay for the scoreboards. And all along, the city has maintained them. They go out and change the bulbs and fix them. There's always been problems off and on with them, because that's how they are. My other statement is, went right out of my head. Like we did things at the field, built the room, the building in the back. There's a concession stand, behind the concession stand, there's a building that was put up by the Little League and paid for, not by the city, but by Little League, and that was turned over to the city because it's on city property. You know, it's just, it seems, and Little League's kind of having struggles now because the enrollment isn't up like it used to be. I mean, when I was there, we had 42 teams, and every field was played every night, including Field 4. So the concession isn't making the money that it used to make. They're not making that kind of, the money that we had. I mean, you get $2.50 for a burger or something. It's hard for them to raise money to supply everything they need for the kids to play, and then to have to, you know, to try and pay out to fix a scoreboard. So I do, and it's disheartening to see this. It's a kids program, and I think the city's well off enough that we could pay for those boards. It's my opinion.
Do we
and I
need
had
to go
say it.
back and look at the lease? I mean,
I've
is
looked
that
at the
something?
lease, they've looked at the lease.
No, I
That's
mean,
what-
but do we need to make some, would it?
Well, it should
do we
be
change
maybe,
or worded differently that?
maybe specified more clearly.
So I will state at this time, that is one of my priorities, is to go back and, is to look at the contracts that we currently have with the Little League program and also the Sebastian Sharks program. That is one of the items that I'm currently working on to more clarify what the requirements are from both sides. I attended the board meeting for Little League at their previous board meeting this month, and they are aware of my plans and what I'm looking at. I feel as though we're going to work together from the city and the Little League program to come up with a contract that works for both sides and that's beneficial to our residents and the baseball participants and softball participants that will utilize our fields. So that is our plan, to go back and look at the contract for the Little League program and spell it out a little bit better than it currently is.
Joanne, I have a question. Remember when they put the floodlights, the lighting out? Didn't that come out of our budget? Did that come out of our budget or the city?
I think it was out of our budget.
So, and
I'm not
I
real sure.
remember thinking that was at an improvement, because we have definitions of what we can use money for out of Parks and Rec, our budget here. And I remember questioning that as a Parks and Rec bill, or is it a city bill because it was under improvement or whatever. So I'm wondering with the scoreboard, if that would be out of our Parks and Rec budget then. So when we go and look at that, that's something we want to consider, because in our budget wording, there's a definition of what's improvements and what are things that we can and cannot use the money for. Maybe we can use that as part of
We had
our money.
shade covers
Right.
and picnic tables and benches and stuff in our plan for the ball field, and none of that was ever done.
Yeah, so I think maybe we need to address Barber Street again and look at that, because that's something we need to,
It's a great park.
right.
And that is one thing that you'll see, I know this is specific to scoreboards. You'll see a little bit later in the agenda when it gets to staff items, I will give you an update on Barber Street and kind of the plans for that going forward. And specifically, I know we're getting into baseball season, so as I said, I've met with the Little League Board. We had a really good conversation with the entire board that was there. And I think you'll be pleased with, once we work through this contract and get a new contract and go forward.
Yeah, I wish I had known that you were doing that.
She would
'cause
be
I
a very
would've
good
been
source
there.
being on that committee for
Okay.
so long. She would have history and some good ideas. I think it would be a good idea to have her.
I clarify something here?
Yes, sir.
How much money are we talking about here that you need? What's the difference to come up with?
So what we've already issued a purchase order. We purchased the scoreboards. It was $2,827 was the purchase price. We received a check from the Little League that covered half of that, so that covered that portion of the cost. Currently, the city has expended a good amount of money to try to repair the other two scoreboards, so we're not giving up on those two scoreboards at this point. I just think, as we're getting closer to baseball and softball Little League season starting, we want to get as many functioning as we can and then proceed with trying to fix the one scoreboard.
So the amount is
issue.
$1,400?
So the amount that the city spent on the second new scoreboard was around $1,400.
And the league bought one scoreboard, is that correct?
The league did
Or
purchase
did
a
you didn't
scoreboard.
reimburse them half for that, right?
No, and that was, I'm not sure when when conversation happened with the league and how that all went about.
Yeah, I believe
It was done before I got here, but
I think Bill Russell paid for it,
yes, he did.
and that's,
And the other
That's
thing
just
too,
wrong.
because it's a
that a private
city-
person had to do
It's
that.
like Riverview Park, Barber Street, because it's used by the whole area. Our monies are by neighborhood areas. That's how our monies are kept, Zone A, B, C, and D. But if it's for something that's a community-type park, we can use monies from different zones to go and fund some of those things. Now, I feel because, like, even with Dog Park, we put in some
A lot of money.
benches, and we put in
Yeah, we've had money for the dogs, well, not for the kids.
Right, and so I think we need to kind of look at where our priorities for money are, because that is a city-used park by everybody, and that's where the monies could come from.
Can you send the Little League children out to maybe raise some money? Little
Well, you'd have-
cans or something like that?
You'd
in
have to
front of-
talk to the committee, but when it comes to things like repairs like that, there should be money
Oh,
available to
okay.
use at that time to take
Support.
care of the repairs then. But because we've done things like that for Dog Park, we need to do those things for the Barber Street complex.
And
So I
also-
would say relook at the lease and priorities on things.
And as far as the dog park goes, the shade shelter that's gonna go up, I think that should go to the kids instead of the dogs. Because the dogs don't use the shade shelter. It's, they're out
The
in the
nets
heat.
that are at the ball field now were paid for by the Little League program.
Yeah, but those are nice shade shelters that,
Right. And it's a community park, so that's
Yeah.
what we should be looking at.
I think
It's
the
used by
dog park
everybody.
needs more trees for the dogs rather than shade shelters.
And I don't mean to be critical or negative or anything,
No,
but it's,
but we've been looking at that
Yeah.
for quite a while, so, thank you.
If I may, I just want to say that I'm sure that Brian appreciates the background information that he's receiving, because there's a lot of history that has occurred, and, I mean, being fairly new myself, it's always beneficial to hear from community members who have been involved and, you know, can give us both a little background on what has occurred. So, I mean, thank you, please don't.
Yeah, well, Little League was here before this building was here. It was over there at the police station. So that was the baseball field.
And if I may interject again, I won't be in another meeting to interject for Brian. You bring up a very good point, Joanne, that if you recall last fiscal year budget setting, I had recommended that we put into the budget, and the city council did approve it, a certain amount of dollars per zone, if you will, for improvements. And so be aware that those dollars are there, and that you are correct, and those are, you know, I think it was, it's 20,000 total, right? So I think it was 5,000 each zone. However, those dollars can be combined to be used at a community park.
Well, I think the 5,000 per zone is for like fast things that we need, little item things.
Yes.
But there's more monies in each zone. I mean, there's more monies that if we had to pull out a larger amount, I kind of feel that that $5,000 should be sitting there as like, for things like if I go to my park, the park that we're going to adopt, and I see that it needs, and it's not a big money item, I kind of think that 5,000 should stay separate. But for big money items like the $1,400 or 2,000 or 3,000 for Barber Street, whatever, should come out of, more money can come out of the zones for that. I'd kind of like to see the smaller amounts still available through the year, that if we have to, because if we run out of that money, then we have to go back to council then, right?
But just be aware that that $20,000 is set aside for parks to utilize through the year for things that they feel are priority improvements, not maintenance, but improvements, and that there isn't anything else budgeted. Those dollars are coming out of the recreation improvement funds, and there are other dollars that are allocated from the recreation improvement funds in our current budget. So if it's a real large item, you may, yes, have to go back to council for that type of, I'm just trying to explain it to you. I mean, if you recall, in the prior year, there was a lot of improvements that you all wanted to do, and I had to be the bad guy and stand up and say, excuse me, none of this is funded. So we need to make sure it's funded in the next year's budget, and now you have it. So just be aware, you have $20,000 to fund improvements in those zones.
But each zone gets 5,000?
Not necessarily, no.
It can be used in any zone at any time for
That's
that.
correct.
Okay.
That's
Also, maybe at the next meeting, if we can get an updated budget on what's in each of those zones right now at this time. And also, when does the new budget start?
October 1st.
Okay, so maybe the things, because we have a new member, and I don't know if Sunny's gotten it, besides what monies are available in each zone, and also what items are still to be funded for the rest of this year out of the budget, and that'll give us an update, please.
Yes, ma'am. That's all that I had under unfinished business.
Okay. We have the committee meeting calendar. Was that the next one? Oh, adopt a park for new business.
So currently we'd be in our public input.
Okay, sorry, I saw that. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak right now? You're welcome to come up and give us your name and. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yes, and your name, please?
Joe Scanlon.
Uh-huh.
I'm new to Sebastian. We bought a home in Ashbury in November. Part of the reason, part of the reason we decided to come to Sebastian was because of the pickleball courts. we were encouraged, we had thought that they were gonna be started in March, so, but now I'm hearing it's gonna happen sometime this summer, so maybe next fall they'll be done. I don't know what the time frame is, but, we're very excited about it. There's a lot of people from the area that play. You can play at Schumann, but there are tennis courts, and you gotta run around, chase balls, but 8 dedicated courts, parking, bathrooms, all of that. We're very, very excited about it. So pleased that it's finally gonna happen. I wish it was gonna happen a little sooner, but I guess things take time, and contractors could be very busy building pickleball courts, because it's very popular nowadays, and it will bring a lot to the city, dollar-wise, and if there can be tournaments and people visiting, they'll if there's a good pickleball establishment here, they will come specifically for that. I'll assure you of that, definitely. So, again, thanks for having, put forth the efforts to get it done. Thank you.
The pickleball courts are going to be awesome. They're going to be something you're going to be really proud of. And the time it's taken to wait is going to be well worth it, because there are going to be 8 courts. They were talking about 4.
Right.
You need 8 courts to have tournaments.
Yes.
So there's going to be plenty. There's going to be parking. It's just hang in there. It's going to be awesome.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? No? Then we'll move on. New business item.
So the first item on the agenda, committee member discussion about Adopt a Park. It's my understanding that this was a program that used to include the committee members in the past. And it's an item that I would like to see brought back to the committee. It's going to include, each committee member having responsibility of going to their dedicated park, and you can go to any park within the city. It's not only your dedicated ones, but you will have specific parks that you will choose amongst the committee to go to, and then come back at the monthly meetings and report good things, things you noticed that need some improvement, comments that you heard from the public, as you're walking around and looking at the park and the playground, you notice things, and just talk to the families if that's what you choose to do. But that's a program that I want to see kind of, amongst the committee, and hopefully the committee buys into that, and we'll move forward with the Adopt a Park program that's specifically amongst the committee members. I know, you'll see across the nation, Adopt a Park is big, where you get residents involved and they come and clean up and stuff like that. That's not really what we're looking to do here. We're looking for the committee members to, take a vested interest in the parks that are underneath, that are dedicated to you, and to come back and report at the monthly meetings.
And I know that I know what park I had, and you had a park. Did you ever start that with us?
Riverview. Well,
So we've been here a bit, so.
I've had a lot of parks.
We could name our parks tonight, but probably what we need is a list of the parks, because I think some of us took more than one.
There's 30-some parks.
Yeah, there were quite a few. So
And there's
maybe
not that many members.
at the next meeting, we could have a list. If you could send us a list maybe before the meeting, and that way when we come, we can write down the ones that we're interested in and following through with.
I'm going to claim the baseball and football field. I know that.
So I think we kind of know, but have you, Dante, been to very many of the parks in town?
Yeah, we go to Riverview quite a bit. The dog likes it.
Well, I'm going to give you an assignment, since you're the newbie on the committee, is if you can get a list of the parks that we have, and maybe before the next meeting, and I know that I've done this, and probably all of us have done, but to try to go to each park, just so you're familiar where it's at.
All 30 parks?
Well, some of them don't have playgrounds. Some are just areas, aren't they? I mean, they're not. So, but even if you went through some of them, I think as a committee member, it's a good idea to know what's out there. So when we talk about different parks, you have an idea.
Yeah.
So maybe you can get the list before the next meeting.
Yeah.
And that way you can go through, and then if you find a couple that look interesting that you want to keep checking on, that would be me. But I would pick at least 2, maybe 3 parks, and then we'll go through the next meeting, and
Did go to, the pool on 512.
that's county, so.
That's a county.
So when you get the
Okay.
list, you'll
Yeah,
see
see.
which ones are in there. And it's actually, you'll be surprised how many parks we have that you didn't even know that were in the neighborhoods, because we have quite a few. So that's your homework.
I'll do it.
Sunny, you.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, I have a comment too. The
Give me my
public can-
assignment.
The public can come to these meetings with the idea on, some idea on a park or some complaint or something. Before I got on the committee, well, I've been about 15 years coming to the meetings. And that's the way I call it planting a seed, so to speak. You bring it here, an idea, discuss it, and sometimes we have to go to council to be approved. But the public is, where we want the communication from is the public. I mean, we're members here of parks and things, but the public is where it is. So if we get the public involved, that'd be a big plus. You know, let the public know they can have an influence too.
And even when you go to your park, when you're talking to people there, if they have a concern, say, we're having a meeting on this date, please come and address it to the committee.
Right.
Invite them to come in. All right.
All right, item B, review and consider 2019 committee meeting calendar. Historically, this committee has met the fourth Monday of each month. So I've proposed the calendar for the entire year so that everyone can add it to their schedules and hopefully, you know, attend as many meetings as possible with your calendars. But there are a couple months, I think, once we get to November and December, that I changed the meeting from the fourth Monday because we run into some holidays once we get into those months. So if everyone could, you know, this is an action item. I'm requesting some action, if you please, to do so tonight, and, you know, look over the calendar that's proposed.
Did you want us to accept this tonight?
Yes.
If we are all of these on Thursdays then? Nothing's changed?
On
changed
the
the
Well,
fourth Monday. So,
I'm sorry, on Mondays.
all
You
of
said
them are
November
the
and
fourth
December?
Monday, with the exception of December 16th and May 20th, because this, the fourth Monday in May would fall on Memorial Day. So that would be the third Monday, and then December 16th is the third Monday of December.
I can't believe we never did this before, where we had the whole year.
cancel.
We would just,
Yeah.
every meeting, we would say, okay, the next meeting is, this is perfect. I'm in favor of these dates. Just set it.
I have a suggestion. Do we need a meeting every month? Or could we have it like every 2 months? Because at one time, that was brought up, not having a meeting every month.
So my plan is to have a meeting every month to receive some input, as long as we have stuff, projects and business to take place.
Right.
I'm not gonna come to you and expect, I can cancel meetings on a month, you know, as they come up if we don't have anything, but I would like to try to stick to a monthly meeting, as long as we have stuff that needs to come before the committee and updates that need to be, you know, spoken on. You know, if we go every other month, then it may be the month that we don't schedule, that something really big has came from city council,
Right.
and we've now skipped that month.
Right.
So I would like to go with a monthly calendar, stick to it, and then if at times over the summer for slower or something to that nature, we can always cancel a meeting, but at least we have our yearly calendar in front of us.
Do you need us to vote on this?
Yes, I do.
I'll make a motion that we accept that calendar.
Sounds good to me.
Second.
I accept it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we need to decide on this adopt a park?
So I think I'd received direction to send out send out the list of all the parks, and in that email, I'll give direction to the committee members to just look it over and come to the next meeting with some ideas on which parks you would like. I would, you know, that would be a discussion amongst the committee members, and then you could take action at that meeting.
Excellent.
But as a committee member, we have all the parks. So it's not just, we have a designated park, but all the parks are, if there's a problem or something to add, well, we can all bring up something, any of the parks.
Yes, and I'll clarify that. I mean, you're free to speak on any park throughout the city that you wish to speak on, but at least then it would just give each committee member a specific, if they don't have time in their daily lives to go to every park, they could have at least 2 or 3 possibly to, go to a couple times during that month and be able to report back.
Right.
On any issues that are noticed. It's always good to have a third party look at them, outside of the city staff. You may notice things that we don't, so that's the plan.
Okay.
Staff matters?
Okay, committee, I just want to provide updates on some of our current projects that are taking place. That's the first item under staff matters. The first project is Barber Street. That is a project that has started a few months ago. It was in place before I joined the city. I've been playing a little bit of catch up, but currently I can give you an update. The restrooms should be completed in the next few weeks. They have painted the entire exterior of the building. There were some murals on the front of the building that they just edged around it because those were installed within the last year or two, and they did not want to disturb those. They're currently within the bathrooms. They're ready to finish the floor. They're going to bring to the city options for colors, and we'll just have to approve those. Once we do, they'll move forward and they're ready to do the floors, the walls, and start installing the partitions, and then the toilets and sinks and everything will go in as well. The stairs were removed. I'm not sure if any of you, from my understanding, they were pretty bad shape. They were removed, and there are new stairs going in to give you access to the second floor on that building as well. Those are currently being powder coated this week, and we look for installation in the next couple weeks. So I anticipate that construction project to be completed sometime mid to late February is a reasonable time frame for that project to be complete.
So the stairs are metal?
Yes, they will be, and they're currently being powder coated right now. Schumann Tennis Courts is a budgeted item this year within the city for those courts to be resurfaced. I have spoken with the contractor that is actually going to do the construction for the pickleball courts. We'll also do the resurfacing of the tennis courts. So the plan is to work with them to schedule the tennis courts either right before or immediately after they do the pickleball project, so that they're already on this side, and they're from another part of the state, and so they're already stationed here in Sebastian, and they can take care of both projects at the same time. I have received the pricing from them. It's currently under our budget, and once we go forward, there may be some things that come up that I think we're pretty comfortable with the budget that has been proposed within our process. Barber Street baseball fields. This is an item that I know we spoke about the school boards a little bit earlier. It's one of the first maintenance items that I've taken on as I've came aboard. One of the first things I noticed when I came here was the condition of those baseball fields. So I've got 2 staff members that are currently working on it. They've been working on it for about the past 3 weeks. They've been edging the infields, working the clay. We're installing new bases, new pitching mounds will be going in. They're building new mounds with clay. And then we're also starting a process to improve the turf. The turf over there was in pretty bad shape. So we've started that process. I've been opening my communication with the Little League program the whole time. So they know that if they go out to the fields and they see some browning, it's going to happen with what we're doing with the turf to get rid of some of the weeds and everything that are out there, and then dealing with ants and mole crickets and stuff like that. But the Little League program seems to be pretty happy with what we've done so far, and we're going to continue that process and improve the standards of those fields as we continue to go forward. Riverview Park, Lisa and myself met with the consultant last week. They're going to provide us with pricing to do a tree maintenance plan along with a succession and preservation plan for those trees. As you all know, that's a major part of our park system here within the city. And we want to make sure, that we can maintain that tree canopy and preserve those trees for as long as we can, and also have a succession plan for after those trees are no longer useful. Park signage is also a budgeted item for this year. Lisa and I are working with the same consultant as Riverview Park to begin the process of a sign study and sign design for our park entrance signs. Some of them aren't exactly at the entrance to the parks, but they are the identifying signs for each of our parks. Some of the parks, as I've noticed, do not have an identifying sign at all within the city. So that's one of the things that we're going to address within this sign study, is making sure that we identify all of our parks and all of our open space within the city, so that it's noted, you know, anyone that goes to use those facilities. And then also bring some of our older signs more up to date, and, you know, make it a common theme throughout the city to where you can easily identify what a park is within our city by the sign that we're going to have designed. Also within this park signage, last year they had, the Treasure Coast Planning Council did a interactive map for all of our parks that has now been put on our City of Sebastian website. Once you go onto our website, you can click the link. It's going to take you back to their site because they are currently hosting it for us. But it is a nice interactive map that gives you a lot of information about our parks and our park system throughout the city that we're going to work together and hopefully going forward in the future can include some greenways and stuff like that. And the last thing I just had on here for as far as current projects is just to remind you, and I know Lisa spoke on it earlier, is about park improvements. This fiscal year, there is the $20,000 in the budget to address, you know, some of the concerns that you all have within our parks, that we can use that $20,000 for. So as you're going around and you're coming up with items within the committee, those are, just remember you have that $20,000 that can be utilized this fiscal year.
Does that 20,000 roll over?
No.
No. Where does it go if we don't use it?
So, well, that's part of rec impact fee?
It is part of the rec impact fees, and if you don't spend it, I mean, we can ask again every single year to keep that item in the budget, and it will be, again, up to the city council to determine if it's a good use for those dollars. But this was the first year we have it in, so.
That would be a good idea, I think, every year to ask for that to be in there.
So that's an update on our current projects that we have going on that within the Leisure Services Department right now. Any questions on those items?
You're going to be busy.
I already am. So moving on to item B, upcoming special events and committee involvement. The city will have our annual Easter egg hunt coming up on April 20th. And from a city, we're creating an internal committee that will oversee each of our internal events that we run from our department. So with the Easter egg hunt, I'm just, mentioning it to the committee. If anyone is interested in participating with that, helping out, you don't have to attend every committee meeting, but I would include you on the information that's passed along. So if any committee member would be interested in helping us out as a volunteer on the day of, or a volunteer as we start the process of preparing and getting ready for that event, I'm more than happy to have you join us with that preparation or day of. Either one is fine. So if you're interested, just please let me know. We are already starting the process of planning for the Easter egg hunt.
You can put me on to
Me
help
too.
set
That's
up
fun.
or before and during the day. Are there any committee member matters? Do you want to start? Dante, do you have any concerns?
Well, this is first day. I don't have too much to say.
Okay. Joanne?
Well, I would like to thank you for meeting with the Little League and the things that you're taking the incentive to do as far as maintaining the fields. Those fields used to be beautiful until, of course, recession and all that. So I understand why they got kind of run down. But I really appreciate that you're taking the initiative to fix them up. And I would love to see us do something with those scoreboards.
Sonny?
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to our Parks and Rec, I think, is going to be a better committee with you involved. So welcome, and I want to go to Riverview Park. The volleyball courts, there's a couple of lights out. There's also a Pete Harris plaque that needs to be re-glued. It's been stolen a couple of times because the glue came undone. That needs to be redone. Also, I guess the pelican on top of the fountain's been stolen. If you put it back, epoxy it, that way it's not loose. And also kids get on top of there and it's loose and it could, I don't know. If you're gonna put it back, epoxy it maybe and have it more permanent and there by itself. Then also the lights at Easy Street that they changed from electric to solar. You know, I campaigned for the lights, and there was a reason for that. They caught a guy on the bench doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing. He was masturbating is what he was doing. So these solar lights they're like, they don't put out any light. I know it saves electric and all, but the whole idea was for safety for the park. I take my dog there every night, basically, and there's women that walks their dog, or they got a baby in a stroller. Easy Street Park, I feel, should have been let a little more light than what the markers did. And also the pickleball court that's going in. I don't know if it's now, maybe later, but have them have a meeting every month at the yacht club. I campaigned for that with the dog park, and it's a big help. They got together while the dog park was being built. Ideas and things made a big difference in the dog park. And the pickleball courts, there's going to be 8 of them. There's going to be tournaments. They're going to need to get together and discuss things. And these are the people that's going to be playing the courts, that's going to be bringing ideas of how to make it the best court that there is. So if we could have the yacht club give somebody a key, then they could have a meeting every month and help us with the pickleball courts. Just an idea there. I guess that's. This is not anything to really do with the parks. Well, it's a yacht club. As you come out of the yacht club, okay, we have a sidewalk there, and there's people riding bicycles and walking. And as you come out of the yacht club, there's bushes there at Mulligan's. And you don't see the people riding their bikes or walking. And the same way for the people riding their bikes and walking, they don't see the boats coming out and the cars coming out. Could we get some kind of sign there in both spots, along the sidewalk and also the parking lot, letting people know that it's, you know, beware of the traffic? I think that'll do it for tonight.
I'll have staff look into that last issue with the bushes on the south side.
Okay.
See what we can do.
Welcome.
Thank
We're glad to have you. My only talk on Easy Street, because I live across the street from the park, I love the lights. I like them because they're all lit and they mark the pathway. We've had the discussion before about at dark, the park's really not supposed to be open at dark, and I know when it gets dark, it's not always late. So I know people that walk that park all the time, and I will be visiting it. That's one of the parks I'm going to take, and I'll be asking them what they think about the lights, you know, if that's an issue with them walking and seeing. But I think they're great because it does define where the walkway is. And
they're great just for define the walkway, but there's so many dark, I mean, it's.
But they aren't supposed to be there at night. That's the other thing. And I mean, we just like at the dog
Well,
park.
maybe we ought to put a sign up.
No
Hours.
more signs. No more signs. But anyway, I will talk with people that are there, and we'll kind of get some feedback, and that's a good thing to come back and ask them on.
I got one more thing at Riverview, just thought about. Okay, we had an incident at the bathroom, a woman got attacked. And I'm looking at the playgrounds. We have two basic playground, two units there. The first one is pretty much lit up from the lights in the park. The second one is a lot darker. I feel we need more lights at this playground, because there's some shady people that goes to the park sometimes, and I like to see more lights on the playground equipment.
Just to clarify that, our parks do close at dusk. So if we were to install lighting, then we are promoting people to come to our parks when they're closed.
But
So we can look at the safety concern and stuff like that, but it's not something that, we don't want to go with, directional lighting to light the playground up. Because then, as I said, that.
Well, the volleyball
invites
court's
people.
lit up, the park's lit up, and there's kids there all hours of the night. I mean, it's, yeah.
Well, maybe having the police patrol it more or something.
But it's, I just see it as a possible place where something could happen. I mean, let's not have something happen, then do something. Let's do something before it happens. That's my point. Okay.
Is there anyone else? Items for the next agenda. I think a lot of it's going to be updates, and is there anything else that you can?
Yeah, I mean, the items that I have from tonight that'll be on the next agenda will be the park improvement discussion. As we, that $20,000, as you all are aware of that now, and we can start that process going forward. And then also the Adopt a Park program will be two items that I know for the next agenda.
And I wanted to thank you. I asked if we could get copies of these just to keep for file. So if you have questions about, where the parks are or the zoning in the different areas of Sebastian and future land use, this is something you can keep to refer to.
Take this with us?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. I guess we're ready to.
Second.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, there we go.
It's official.